All right, seeing that it is past 7 p.m. and having no open forum requests in the bin, I will call to order the regular school board meeting of the Prior Lake Savage Area Schools. And first item of business is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All board members are present this evening with the exception of Ben, Melissa, and Lee. And since Lee's absence, we have to appoint a temporary clerk for this evening's meeting. Do I have a nomination for a clerk for this evening?
I nominate Mary France.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Mary signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second for the approval of the agenda?
Second.
Oh, and I'd like to make a motion to remove the 2017 to 20 budget tracking report off for further discussion.
That is item number what?
That is item E on the agenda, I believe. Of the, item number 6 of the consent agenda, so it's 6E.
All right. Okay. With that removed, do I have a motion, or I took a motion and a second. All those in favor of the consent agenda? Let me step back a little bit. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine in nature. Oh, excuse me. Did we approve the agenda? We did not. We did not have a vote.
We took a first and a second, yeah.
Okay, deep breath, let's, all right. So I have a motion and a second for the approval of the agenda. Any other items concerning the agenda this evening? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items. Tonight's consent agenda includes the check wire transfer disbursement summary, the wire transfer EFT ACH banking activity, the bank reconciliation statement, the building bond investment reports. Item E is removed. The approval of school board minutes from August 13th and August 27th of this year, resignations, terminations, and non-renewals. All right, all those in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the resolution for the acceptance of gifts. Tonight we have gifts from the Wells Fargo Community Support Campaign, from a Target gift card for staff at Fairview, from staff at Fairview Ridges, an anonymous donor gift, Mrs. Hazan through the matching gifts program at Wells Fargo, Mr. O'Hara through the same program, and from a monetary donation from the Wells Fargo Community Fund. We also have value in kind donations from Printed Circuit Solutions and Molex LLC, from the Prior Lakes Lions Club, from the Health Source of Prior Lake, and from Nancy Dean, a former teacher here in the district. So do I have a motion for the resolution for the acceptance of the gifts?
So moved.
By Mary, do I have a second?
Second.
By Stacy. This is a resolution and therefore roll call vote.
Aye.
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 That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is Laker Pride. Dr. Stallo.
Evening, everyone, and welcome back as we start our academic school year. Tonight we have a couple of different presentations. The first one is a tribute and a special recognition of one of our administrators. If I could ask Mr. Dave Brown to please join me up here. Dave. Dave has been in public education for 24 years, serving as a teacher, assistant, and head swimming and diving coach, student activity advisor, dean, and administrator. In that time, he's received many awards, including Swimming and Diving Coach of the Year, Advisor of the Year, Prior Lake High School Teacher of the Year, and a Leadership Award at Prior Lake Savage Area Schools. Over the last 10 years, Dave Brown has led Bridges, our ALC. And during that time, he started with one other staff member and a few students, part-time, and a few students, and has helped create and develop an unbelievable program with many staff, with over 100 students, with students who graduate sometimes in 4 years, sometimes in 5 years, sometimes in 6 years, who come to the ALC behind in credits and find a whole lot of support, opportunities for personalized learning, and love as they come. And that is because of the leader before me and what he has created with the students and his amazing staff. In addition to serving Prior Lake Savage Area Schools, Dave Brown also has served in the military for 12 years. He recently finished his latest assignment as the commander of the 434th Chemical Company, and then moved on to the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division as a battle captain in operations. Dave will be taking a military leave this year as he is being deployed to continue his service to our community. He will be overseeing a tactical operations center. Dave and his wife Maria are blessed with 4 daughters, who Dave says on most days are an absolute delight. I wanted to take this time tonight to thank Dave for leading in such a compassionate way, having high expectations for everyone around him, and building literally an amazing program and helping to design and start the work on a new Bridges Area Learning Center. I know there's a lot of emotion that you have right now, and I look forward to your return and the opening of a brand new building under your leadership. So thank you for your service to our country and to our school district, and take good care. We will be sure that things go well at Bridges. Thank you.
For those of us who are in service, one of the things that is absolutely tantamount is the support that we have. And it's never been more apparent in my life now as this overwhelming adventure and experience is about to happen in a couple of weeks. Without the support of my family, without the support of my friends here and the district, and I know that to be true for all of the soldiers, airmen, and seamen, and all the people that serve, that support, I just cannot understate as I move on to these things where I'll be overseas with these responsibilities, knowing that there's the support here and things are in such good hands, amazing leaders, and amazing staff, just takes all that pressure away to really focus on the mission that's going to be at hand over the next year. And so I know from my sense, it's so much appreciated, and I most certainly can speak for others that I've had the pleasure to serve with. It's appreciated as well. So Dr. Stallo, this means so much. I can't really put it into words. The support from my family as well, so thank you for everything.
In addition to recognizing Dave this evening, we also want to take the opportunity to celebrate and recognize the fact that learning happens at Prior Lake Savage Area Schools all year. So when classes stop in June, for most of our students, we still have much learning over the summer. So I'd like to invite Leanne Warrack and Carrie Doby up, please. Leanne is the Director of Community Education, and Carrie is the Community Education Youth Programs Coordinator. And tonight, they are going to showcase some of the summer learning that has taken place or took place over the summer at Prior Lake Savage Area Schools. I think it really is. We are blessed with an amazing community education program, and this is just one example of how our learning continues and the value that our community education program has to our community and to our mission of our school district, which is to educate all learners to reach their full potential as contributing and productive members of our ever-changing global community. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Leanne and Carrie. Thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you for the opportunity for us to share with you a summer to remember as part of community education's year-round learning. So as Terry said, while school was out, community education was in full swing. We were keeping learners engaged, contributing, and learning new skills. We served over 5,000 learners this summer through our youth programs and camps, community education classes, early childhood family education classes, the WAVE Middle School program, and more.
So for those of you who like quantitative data and charts, we've included a visual here of where we served those 5,219 students. Youth camps, swimming lessons, and kids companies serve the greatest numbers and collectively account for roughly 76% of those participants. We offered 172 sections of summer camps, serving over 1,700 youth. This picture shows the Jungle Book production that had 36 students, ages 6 through 13. The theme for the summer was "The Camp is Right," and the camp was right. We did great with participation numbers, but we also got some great parent feedback. I wanted to share one parent comment that we got. We had a new Harry Potter camp this summer, and a parent responded to the evaluation and said, "I simply wanted to heap praise upon the instructor of this class. As I stated in my feedback, the way that he created an immersive, fun, and creative world, all based squarely on the universe that J.K. Rowling created, was exceptional. I want to make sure that the powers that be recognize him for doing such an amazing job building the curriculum for this course." So just one example of a happy parent. Here we have mud camp. So I'm not sure these parents were quite so happy when their kids came home, but the kids had fun. We served 178 students in 15 E-STEM camps, and most of our outdoor camps are traditionally held at Jeffers Pond. With the construction that was anticipated to be held at Jeffers this year, we did relocate the programs to Hidden Oaks Middle School. And the teachers and the students, sometimes literally, rolled with it and really made the most of it being over at Hidden Oaks. We serve 564 students in 40 art and performance camps and programs. One of the highlights of that area of programming was the Kids Art Market. Here you see a student doing henna on a customer, and another Vivian here in the middle, she made artwork from Barcelona sea glass. Leanne bought some artwork there as well that she's showing.
Go any direction.
Yes. The turtle that you see is a canvas creation from a participant in our Glittericious Art Camp. We had 42 student artists and entrepreneurs selling their artistic creations, and the kids were 5 to 16 years old. 459 students participated in 38 sports camps. So we're featuring here tonight Ninja Warrior Camp, Baseball T-Ball, and Horse Camp. Teens and preteens, this group can be difficult to engage, but we put some extra effort into programming for them this year, and we had some success. we had 3 camps: Challengers, Create Your Own Restaurant, and Kitchen Boot Camp, that were our most popular for this group and most successful. We also served 567 enrollments through our driver's ed program. While we're beginning to find camps that work for the preteens, we're also seeing growth in our middle school program, The Wave. The Wave serves many purposes for families, ranging from childcare to youth development, field trips, and service. We served 199 students entering grades 6 through 8. We were open 7 to 5, 4 days a week, with field trips every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. With an average attendance of 79 students a day and 34 days of programming, we had a total of 2,690 attendance days. That's an increase of 354 student attendance days since last summer, and an average attendance of 11 student days also compared to last summer. For our incoming 6th graders, this is a whole new world. Welcome to The Wave. Sometimes welcome to PLSAS, welcome to a new school, independence, new relationships. We're starting over here. We are sometimes the first glimpse that families have of middle school, and it can be scary for the kids and the parents. It comes with more choice and independence and new relationships as the elementary schools are converging into one program. We also serve students that are new to the district. Sometimes we sometimes have parents calling as late as 2 weeks left in the program saying, can I still enroll my kid? We're new to Prior Lake Savage and we really want them to meet some other students before they start. So we take these changes and needs seriously and focus on relationship building and strong staffing. I wanted to just share a little bit of an impact statement with you guys here about the program. Sam here, shown on the left. Sam is one of our success stories, and on the last day of The Wave this summer, Sam, who is an incoming 7th grader, asked if he could share a few words with all of the students and the staff. Little did the staff know he had prepared a whole speech. So Amanda, the site leader, writes, Sam thanks students for their friendship all summer long and encouraged them to continue to be kind and reach out to one another during the school year to come. Sam also showed appreciation to staff individually by affirming strengths he saw in each one of us. It's moments like these that remind you how much what you do matters. And then Amelia, shown on the right, she was another success story, and Amanda wrote about her as well and said, entering middle school time is a time filled with excitement as well as nerves for many. Amelia, a summer wave student and incoming 6th grader, sang Count on Me by Bruno Mars, a song about true friends during the Waves Got Talent show the final week of the program. As she finished, Amelia showed how this song was an encouragement to her through her summer of transition from elementary to middle school. And she explained how she came to the Wave not knowing anyone, but is now entering middle school with excitement after making new friends she can count on. Band, another first, another big transition. We have 167 beginner band students that went through our program this summer. So for most of those students, the first time they pick up their instrument is the day it's delivered on the first day of band. By the time they're done with the program, they're ready for 6th grade band in the fall. 145 private or intermediate students took one-on-one lessons, and we had 49 stage band students that are 7th through 12th graders that perform, and it was really fun to see them on stage at the back-to-school teacher event.
Kids Company served over 900 students at 3 locations. Westwood and Edgewood was our pre-K through 2nd graders. And new this year was our 3rd through 5th graders being housed at the Prior Lake High School due to construction in our elementary schools. And sometimes with change, there's new opportunities that emerge. And you'll notice in the picture in the lower left, Kyle Yetzer and some Kids Company assistants, they designed some theater programs, and that is a picture of The Wizard of Oz. And they did this in a few weeks' time, props, everything. It was just fabulous. We also had a garden program in partnership with Child and Nutrition Services, as well as the Backyard Garden Organization. Kids Company planned over 96 field trips, if you can imagine. So they've been planning for months before summer comes. And there was about 10 for our pre-K through kindergartners, and then for each grade level, first through fifth grade, there was about 17 to 18 separate field trips. And their daily activities align with our district's strategic directions, as well as partnering with the local library and collaborating with our summer school programs that we offer in the district. You again? Oh, there's only 10 more slides, just kidding. This is the last slide. I thought this was interesting. Our facility use for the summer tracked over 38,000 hours of usage, and that was based on our district summer school programs, community education, the activities department, youth sports associations, and also some nonprofit adult groups that use our facilities, and the University of Minnesota for classes, as well as local dance recitals. And that is our presentation. Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Was that a carrot that she was holding up? Okay. Didn't look like a carrot.
Oh, this?
You go back a couple slides.
No, like a couple
No.
slides. I
Oh,
think
the
at
garden, yes.
Yeah, the garden.
Yeah.
Well, Leanne and Carrie, if you'd come up here, please. I know that you are here representing a whole lot of staff that did a whole lot of work preparing for the programming and certainly implementing the programming. We often hear in schools, especially as administrators, well, what do you do all summer? Nobody's around. What do you do? Well, what a great example of the many things that happen with the community ed program, with Kids Company, to ensure that families are taken care of, kids are learning and enjoying and laughing, and there's a lot of opportunities. So thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for the great presentation and summary of a very eventful and productive summer. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Next on the agenda are personnel items. For that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Matt Mons.
All right, first up this evening, I am recommending the following candidates for employment, and I'm seeking board approval.
Do I have a motion for the acceptance of the candidates for employment?
So moved.
By Todd, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mary, are there any questions or comments?
Yes, I have
Go
one
ahead, Mary.
question. I ask this every year. How are we doing with our paras? Are we able to staff up good? Are we able to service the students? et
With
cetera?
our paraprofessionals, it's one of 3 areas where we are still looking for some of our staffing. However, we've prioritized paraprofessional hiring above those other areas, so we're in actually pretty good shape. But it did come down to the wire, as it always kind of does, in a couple of those areas. Other areas that have been difficult to hire for and that we're still looking a little bit in would be child nutrition services and then some of our part-time custodial work.
Do you find that the difficulty in hiring is number of people available? Are we not being competitive enough on our rates? I'm not trying to set you up for that question, by the way. I'm just curious. I want to make sure that we're able to get the best people possible.
What we're finding in all of those areas is that we have a very tight labor market at the moment. And there's a number of other positions in the district too. Our Kids Company positions, for instance, where we're all kind of drawing from the same pool. As I said, we do try hard to prioritize our special education programming and our paraprofessionals there, but we're just finding that it's exceedingly difficult to find employees in the area.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0.
Next, I present the following leaves of absence, and I'm seeking board approval.
Do I have a motion for the approval of the leaves of absence?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mary, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0.
And next, I'm presenting the retirement of Robin Borkhardt, who's been with the district for 6 years and has been working at 5 Hawks in Westwood for that time.
Do I have a motion for the approval of the district retirement for Mr. Borkert?
So moved.
By Todd, do I have a second?
Second.
By Stacy, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0.
And next up, I present the following staffing requests. These are all on the educational support side. One is a part-time child nutrition helper at Grainwood. The student enrollment at Grainwood has increased significantly, and they're just finding that they need a little bit more help in that kitchen. Student supports for youth programs out of Community Education Services. As you can see, Ms. Doby and her staff are very active at the moment, so they need a hand here. And then lastly is a part-time position in early childhood family education in order to support additional assistance to that programming and ensure too that there's sibling care.
All right. Do I have a motion for the approval of the additional staffing for 2018-19?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mary, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0.
And next up, I'm presenting a new job description. This is for the Mars coordinator position. This is a position that was approved in July and that we have hired for, but I'm coming back to the board with that revised final job description.
All right. Do I have a motion for the acceptance of the job description for the Mars coordinator?
So moved.
By Mary, do I have a second?
Second.
By Todd, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. We have 4 items tonight. The first item, do you want me to take it or? Okay, I will take it. The first item is the 2018-2019 Board of Education working document. This is basically our to-do list or our project list. This has been presented at one board meeting and then discussed at the study session. So, do I have a motion for the acceptance of the Board of Education working document for 2018-19?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
By Todd, are there any questions or comments? I will make one comment on superintendent relations. We'll be coming up with an additional item with the new appraisal system, performance appraisal. And just to note that we have down there that meeting one-on-one monthly with the superintendent, because when we come up to that new appraisal in a year, there should be no surprises if you're meeting with the superintendent. We have one employee as a board, and that is the superintendent, Dr. Stallo. So we should be meeting monthly one-on-one with her to update her and just to discuss how things are going. So my comment. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the approval of the revised superintendent description. I'll let Dr. Stallo take this one.
Excellent. We looked at different models, and the model that we landed on in terms of determining what the themes were that my job description or the superintendent's job description should look like came from the AASA, the National Association of Superintendents and Administrators. So we worked with the executive team and took a look at the indicators of that. So it looks, we cross-referenced it then with the job description that was in place to make sure that we weren't missing anything from the old one, but we definitely added some components of that, which outlined the job description and what you can expect from my duties.
And I will add that we also took in items from the Minnesota School Boards Association job description of when the executive board went to the seminar earlier in the year and had a job, so we brought those in to the job description as well. Do I have a motion for the approval of the revised superintendent job description?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mary, are there any questions or comments?
The only note I
Stacy.
just want to make is that this has not been revised in 10 years, correct? 2008, I believe, so it was
No, I think it was
Really?
2003 from
3?
Dr.
Okay,
Westerhouse.
older. Okay, forgot. That was that old that I forgot. So it's definitely timely, and I'm glad to see that it's going forward.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the approval of the evaluation timeline. There you see the executive staff worked with Dr. Stallo on this timeline. It's based on when we, in our conversations concerning the new contract, the new 3-year contract with Dr. Stallo, part of that was a new evaluation process, and that's set out here in addition to the new job description. So that process is detailed here. This was also discussed during our study session. So, Dr. Stallo, do you have anything you'd like
Nope,
to add?
I think that the flow of activities and expectations is very similar, again, to the process that we have been using, but it was good to do some study around it and conversation to make sure that it was meeting the board's needs.
Do I have a motion for the acceptance of the approval of the evaluation timeline?
So moved.
By Mary, do I have a second?
Second.
By Todd, are there any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the approval of the superintendent performance evaluation form. This again is based on, what you see there is based on the newly approved job description and the evaluation form. So you'll get a survey online as last year, and you'll be able to mark 1 through 4 on the evaluation. And then at the end of each section, there'll be a comment section. And then at the end, there's a general comment section. So, and the areas are based off, I think I said, based off the job description. Are there any, or do I have a motion for the acceptance and approval of the superintendent performance evaluation form?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
By Todd, are there any questions or comments? I'll make one comment. This will be a very similar process to last year and detailed in the timeline. So no other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the one question from the consent agenda. We move down to finished business, the budget tracking report. And Mary, you had a question. Before you begin, let me update the board. This was reviewed at the facilities long range planning committee. Did I get all the
Finance
acronyms?
facilities.
Finance facilities long range planning, the FLIRP committee. So go ahead, Mary.
Okay, well, first of all, I appreciate the quarterly budget tracking. I believe the last one the board received was in the May 21st study session where we discussed it. And that was almost exactly the same, but I had a couple of questions because some of the bid packages are marked complete. We had voted on some of them. We knew the prices were kind of all over the place, but they were marked complete. And then in this packet, we see the same mark completion, but contingency funds added into the original budgeted amount, changing the over or under budget dollar value. And I was kind of wondering why we adjusted historical numbers.
Would one of the board members from the FLRP committee like to respond to that before Julie
Why
does?
don't we let Julie?
Oh, sorry, Julie.
It was a request by the facilities finance to put the contingency into those areas that they were actually used. So they wanted to see the 5% contingency in each of the areas. So that's what we did for the report.
Okay.
So we just moved the 5%, shows the 5% over, under or over, and you can see it coming out of the same exact spot. So it's showing the same dollar amount, it's just showing it now as a 5% instead of all negatives in those areas when it truly isn't a negative. Because we've talked about this several times in our meetings, that the design is part of those projects, and it's showing separately right now, and they just didn't feel like that was the right thing to do, so they felt it needed to be in each of those packages.
My concern is that we had original historical budgeted dollars, and the normal practice on this would be to add an adjustment onto the total at the bottom, which is understandable, if we did have a contingency fund, but to go back and change completed projects and approved budgets, and then obviously the bid cost amount didn't change or whatever, it's a little confusing, and I would hope that we don't go back and adjust historical numbers.
Well,
It was a request by the people on the FLRP committee, so
Yeah,
I think we could take it back to FLRP and see.
yeah. I think all three members of the FLRP committee were in agreement that this is more truly representative of the costs that we're incurring on each of the budgets and more truly representative of the status of each.
So, and the rest of the bid packages, do we have that built in? Because it didn't look like a lot of them had it. We had a little bit of the remaining design and construction contingency put into some of them, but it didn't seem like all of them had it. So the LTFM didn't, and one of the other bid packages didn't. So are we going to be adding those in consistently and letting, including them into our original estimate going forward?
well, we can't take money out of the referendum dollars and put it into long-term facility maintenance. We cannot do that. So that's why you're not seeing that there. It has to be in the correct budgeted areas, and so that's why you're only seeing it moving within its own parameters. So
Okay,
I can't really take money out of referendum and put it into long-term facility maintenance
all right.
because it's a different funding source.
So when their original budget amount was 119 million total, and now our new budget amount is 121,356, was it always 121,356?
We had also talked about making sure that we're including the interest revenue in there, so that's why this is a change.
All right. Next on the agenda,
I think we need a motion to approve this, correct?
thank you,
Yeah.
Todd. Yes, do I have a motion to accept the budget tracking report?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
By Todd. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Okay.
Oh, that passes 3-1. Next on the agenda is new business, facilities planning and construction, Mr. Holmberg.
All right. Good evening, Chair Wolf, members of the board, Dr. Stallo. I'll be going through a facilities planning construction update for you this evening. There are two key topics I'll be sharing. Be giving a progress update on the new elementary school. We have several slides on that to give you a sense of where the elementary design group has been. And then tonight, we'll be going over, like we've had in previous meetings, going over the Prior Lake High School renderings where we're seeking board approval on the design plans tonight and advertising to bid. So with that, we'll start out just by looking at kind of our internal document of how we're moving through with presenting plans to the board and bringing it forward so that as we continue to move through, we get to the project completion date at the end of this document. So as approvals, as bids come through, we start to shift this document and start to recognize when things are accomplished. So we'll start seeing more bold-faced dates in here as we move forward.
Jeff? I
Yes.
have a quick question on the stuff that
Why
isn't,
don't,
I'm sorry,
okay, is it a quick one?
yes. Just on the stuff that isn't bolded, there's construction begin dates that are before board approval to accept bids and a few other things. Is this
So-
just fillers, or how does that work?
Not fillers, but it's all the preparatory work that needs to take place before we actually break ground.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what, okay, thank you.
Yep. Good question.
Okay, so why don't we let Mr. Holmberg finish the presentation?
All
and
right,
then
I'll be
we'll-
taking you through the new elementary process as we go, as to start out in this presentation. Number one, I just want to thank the design teamwork for their real discussions, willing to dig in, look at elementary schools, take visits of other schools, looking at new construction concepts, and really shaping what is the future for Prior Lake Savage Area Schools with this new elementary, but then also keeping a very cognizant eye on our current elementary buildings. And I think you're going to see some real nice crossovers here, but they put a lot of time in, energy in looking at new elementary components and looking at our district as well as others. They're not at a point of decision-making yet. And so this is a progress update. You're going to be seeing some 2D concepts, some possible site plans. We have a meeting tomorrow with the group where we will start going down a certain path. You know, the path is kind of wide open right now, but as we continue to meet, it will start to get narrower before we bring a recommendation forward to the board. One of the first things we had the group do was draft a new elementary school mission statement that you can see here. Really, as we think about what's important about this building, these are the things that really came out, that really guide us in creating the new elementary school. This has been something that we've looked at several different times, and I think it's starting to solidify. You know, obviously, you see things like welcoming, creative, safe environment, conducive to personalized learning, innovative, flexible learning practices, and community pride. Secondly, we spent some time talking about guiding principles. In order to create that mission, what are those components that we need to factor in with our design components? And I think as you've looked through these or kind of looked through those bullet points, you're going to see that these are very transferable to our current elementary schools in the district. Personalized learning, innovation, flexibility, safe, welcoming environments. Those are things that we carry over in all of their buildings. Where our conversation has been around the new elementary school is how do we design space at the forefront with these guiding principles. So I'm going to be sharing with you a couple slides on 2D with a learning studio diagram. As you look at this, you see it's very similar, and we've had some conversation about why it's a learning studio relative to, like, say, a pod or resource area, but we are looking at the language around learning. You know, what is the focus when students are entering this portion? What's important for us to know about this space? And the things we're talking about are large classrooms, which are very similar to current classrooms in our district-wide. We're also talking about a flex classroom. As you can see, it's opened up to the rest of the flex space. And then a medium group space that can be open and closed to adjusted learning styles of the students. One of the things I think as you'll see here shortly is by looking at this configuration, there would be 5 sections here. You'd have teachers that are working with 5 different classrooms of students. Some of the things that the team is talking about is really to what level and really where is that threshold of operational doors. You know, it's a lot easier to have a larger space to make it smaller. It's a lot more difficult to have smaller space to make it bigger. And so I think the conversation around operational doors is to what extent are operational doors necessary, and then to what extent will the doors be open and closed, where it really gets to the element of teaching and learning. Looking at a 3D version, you see some different scenarios with operational doors. Operational door here, sort of a barn door format where the doors can open, so you have those large classroom spaces open to the flex space. Same thing here and here in this look, as well as this operational door. And so, again, it gives teachers versatility. It also gives them the opportunity to plan learning environments or learning experiences for kids and then look at where's the space that best matches how we're going to support students to achieve those outcomes. So you start to see where the doors are open. Again, it really is where the design group is going to be talking about, you know, to what extent are we creating an environment where we can have large group, we can close things off to recognize where our independent learners might need more quiet space, but also deliver on that personalized group learning, whole group, small group, kids learning at their own pace, and what's the best physical environment in order to support that. They've also started looking at just a couple of building concepts for layouts, and here's one example that they're looking at. With the main office here to the south of the property, coming in, main office is here, with cafeteria, gym space here. Again, there's we're seeing some of the designs that are out there that other districts are doing. This really matches a function of during the day where cafeteria and gym and kitchen where kids are going back and forth, but also observation and the ability of before and after school activities in a much more safer, controlled environment. The learning commons that you see here is our media center. And so again, media center, it is moving away from more traditional books, but there will be books, there will be shelves, but also space for whole and small group learning, and really be central to our learning studios that are surrounding it. Here's what the upper level would look like for those learning studios. Just coming back, and I'll show you kind of a site diagram. We've got bus entry levels coming in at 3 different points where kids are coming into those learning studios at the beginning of the day. You know, if they're on the 2nd level, they'd go up the stairs to the 2nd level, and that's where they would exit as well, and then also going out to the playground. 2nd level, as I just discussed. Another concept is very similar, but also a little bit more longer. You can kind of see very similar south entry, main office, art, music, CID, the learning studio, a little longer learning commons. A lot of this is designed around having light come in on the south to the large group areas, and then with the main office, art, music being one level, windows above that where it can actually get light into the learning commons and into the learning studio. One of the benefits of having these areas separated is we're able to get windows around all of these for north lighting. So again, just understanding the value of having sunlight, more natural environment, being able to see outside. And through these 2 building concepts I'm just sharing with you, we're able to achieve that. You know, we're minimizing the number of internal classrooms. Again, this is what a 2nd level would look like. And then from a building concept site plan, as we look at, and again, this is draft format, you see toward the south parking lot where we're able to queue people coming in, how a building concept could be. You've got a outdoor Phi Ed space, which again, proximal to the gymnasium on this side, so students can be in the gym and then have proximity to those. You have a separate bus loop, which is very important. All of our schools right now have one way in, one way out at our elementaries. And so this logistically from a traffic sense makes much more sense. So again, that's the update that I have for you from the new elementary. Again, just a lot of tremendous work by our committee, and really having good, thoughtful discussions around what's working well in our buildings now, what are some of those things we're seeing other districts do, and then also what's the type of environment we want to have for kids so they have those learning experiences that we value around our mission, our district mission, as well as our mission for the new elementary.
Are there any questions for Mr. Holmberg on the elementary design? Go ahead, Mary.
First of all, I like the open design and everything like that. I'm just curious, one of the issues we heard years ago was lack of storage space for teachers and lack of private meeting space between one-on-one for teachers and students. And I know that was some time ago, but is that addressed in here? I know this is very broad structures here,
Yeah.
so it's not like it's showing minuscule rooms or anything like that.
Yeah, you know, it is. One of the things we're seeing from other schools, and this is something that's being incorporated into the design option we're looking at tonight, is a staff office area, where the staff have an office area where their desk real estate space is outside of the regular classroom. So they're there, it provides more space in the classroom for learning and setting that space. Also, we have small group rooms in each of these areas for either one-on-one conversation or small group learning. The other component we're looking at, and this is new to our district, but really not new in what we're seeing what other districts are doing, is this mudroom concept, where kids are coming in. All of the lockers are in one space, kids are coming in, this is where they're putting their materials and things. But again, when you're looking at elementary kids, those lockers are a little smaller. We've discussed having storage space for this whole learning area in that space right above the lockers, you know, as a possible way to mitigate to meet the needs of storage and having place for materials. Certainly, we're gonna look at some mobile solutions for storage. There might be, and we're just not at that point yet, but there might be some regular, smaller storage solutions built into each of these rooms. But again, the focus is on having as much space as possible for learning experiences.
Are there any other questions? I have one. Give us a little heads up on the timeline then. I know you have some dates in the status overview here, but will you be coming back with the final design at the upcoming study session, or?
So at the study session that we have, so if we go back to our construction project status, we're on track here to present to you on the November 12th meeting.
Okay.
And so both of our October board regular meeting and work session, we will have those design plans start to be articulated and flushed out so we can bring that forward for you to look at. We're seeking the board approval on the design plan on the December 10th meeting. So we've got plenty of opportunity to round out these and bring you more detail that you can look at and approve or consider.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the review, design approval, and the request for the board for going out for bidding for the high school additions.
Thank you.
So why don't we make a motion first? Or why don't you present first? We'll hold off on our questions. We'll make a motion second, and then we'll go forward.
Yes, thank you. I do want to point out in here, we received some updated slides today from our partner, so I do have 2 slides in the presentation, and I'll point those out to you as I come to those, but it gives a little bit more of a sense of what we're working through. So, again, we've kind of gone through these over the last several board meetings, but again, for this evening, I will go through them. This is from the north lot, looking in at the new north entry of Prior Lake High School. You see the addition, and then you also see to the left the transition into the activity center. As you walk in, you see classrooms there on the right, an open space commons area that goes into the gold gym. The main office area is just down the hall from that gold gym. Concession stand, again, tying together competition gym, auditorium, and the activity center. Here is the weight room rendering. You see a lot of gold racks. But again, it gives a sense that we are moving the weight room from its existing place over closer to the activity center where there's nothing underneath it. Currently, this is above, the weight room is above the one of the locker rooms. That's a very disruptive environment underneath when kids are using free weights. Here's another look inside the weight room. And here's an outside look from the north looking at the activity center. And you can see light windows to the north, the translucent lighting. It's most. I mean, when we're looking at this with the amount of windows and light coming in, most days we'll be able to conduct classes without even turning the lights on. Here's a look at the inside track. And then here's one of the new slides I want to share with you. It's a 2D rendering. We're also factoring in an addition to the locker room, as well as a restroom shower facility that you can see. So factoring in team rooms, so renovating into a team room for men and women, additional lockers for boys and girls, and then additional restrooms and toilet and shower facilities for students. Here we are on the bridge looking out over the existing commons, and you also see the expansion of the commons. This is the learning stair feature. This is taking the place, or this is renovating our current area to, if you know where the stairway is now, you go up it, you take to the right, and then it narrows because there's a post there. This would open that up, allow a space for teaching before, during, and after the school day, circulation of students, and then also as we look with our commons to have the capacity to have up to 1,000 students per lunch period eat, this would also serve as part of that capacity for eating. Over to just beyond the learning stair, you see the extension of the new servery, as well as a corridor down to the music area. This is from inside that corridor looking back out. From this, we're actually kind of standing next to the existing, like, small little coffee shop area. And then this is another classroom slide of the band room. It is obviously missing a lot of different things. There's more storage components in the band room, but wanted to give you a sense of what we're planning with the 2D rendition, and we have been meeting with all of our subgroups to provide detail on this, but just giving a sense tonight, this is what the floor plan would look like. Coming back out into the existing commons, we're looking at the Laker Marketplace, which is the renovated servery, and then also the Lake House Cafe. I'll talk into more detail on that. Here we're looking into that Laker Marketplace, which is the current servery. They're currently, as you look at this picture, there's no equipment that's drawn into this rendering. There will be equipment there. It will not look as spacious as what it does now. Under the Laker Marketplace, coming in having 7 different serving stations. And there is more to come, but I wanted to give you a sense of the ability to be able to serve that many students. We need to have options for students and for students to kind of go get what they're interested in eating. Here's another look of the same servery without equipment. And then also taking a look at the Lake House Cafe, which is a renovation underneath the current media center. This will also be the inside look of the Lake House Cafe. This will be the 8th serving station. This will be a place, or this Lake House Cafe will be open before school, during school, after school. We'll have grab and go options, students that are there to get breakfast, certainly lunch, but if they're going for MinCaps, PSEO, co-curriculars. And so I think one of the virtues here is we're able to serve students without having the whole entire main kitchen opened up. Here's where we're looking into the new commons, extending it out for additional seating. And at the end there, you can see the staircase that goes up into a new classroom wing. From here, you see different labs, small group space, learning studios, see some flexible furniture, high top, the ability for students to charge devices, work in small groups or in collaborative experiences. This is a rendering very similar, but it's the additions at the end of our current classroom towers. Again, you can see how open it is, but also drawing that sunlight in. Here's the 2D rendering of the auto shop. I do not have any 3D, but again, being able to extend that out, offer more bays for existing lifts and autos, a flex classroom that affords more space for technology education and robotics. Here's an outside look, looking back into the cafeteria and that new classroom wing. Here's taking a look at those additions onto the end of our current classroom towers. That's what I have for you this evening. So with that, seeking board approval on these designs and moving forward to advertise for bid.
All right, with that, I'm going to seek a motion for the approval and design of the high school for the activity center, main office, weight room and locker rooms, classrooms and commons area and servery, both approval of the design and the approval to go out for bid. Do I have a motion?
So made.
By Stacy. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Todd. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Holmberg?
Well,
Mary.
I'd like to say thank you for adding the automotive set, because I was looking through this and I noticed that was missing. Do we have, or because I know we've seen this during the study sessions, the rendering of the former entrance down below and where that locker space and where the other side of the Fab Lab where the lockers are and the entryway before we go into the gyms? Because I know there were some changes made there.
Yeah, we do not have that rendering currently. That would be a remodeled renovation, but we do not have that rendering this evening.
And we're bidding on the whole package, right?
It will be on the whole package, correct?
Okay. Has there been, the original rendering we looked at in a study session of about a month ago or so, is there any changes to that area at all?
No.
Okay.
One of the things I'd be remiss to say is again, as much as I compliment our elementary group, the high school stakeholders, staff, certainly our building administration has been at the forefront working with subgroups and, making sure we're really getting this right. So there's been a lot of meetings, a lot of input, a lot of fingerprints on this, and so really thanks to them and making sure we're not letting anything fall through the cracks.
Are there any other questions or comments? I have one. If you can go back to the locker room, we had a little discussion during the FLIRT meeting concerning this and access, student access. Can you talk a little bit about that? And because currently, I know we see, at the current high school, we see a lot of the athletes go in and out of the locker room from those doors. So can you
So I believe it was at our last board work session.
Right.
The comment came up around these areas here.
Yep.
Certainly, we need to have egress outside. And so these are not going to be entrances that are going to be used as main thoroughfares, but we have to have egress for students to leave should there be an emergency or drill, fire, those types of things. One of the things that I think that was discussed is that the current doors that are here now, we have athletes that are going out from the locker room and going right out to the fields. That in of itself is not the challenge. I think the issue is that when doors are propped open for periods of time. And so what we have started looking at is just the viability of having some sort of buzzer system that will let us know when the doors are propped or ajar. I think we've had conversations administratively. I think we prefer to have kids go out that way as opposed to going all the way through the building with cleats on or other types of equipment that they might be utilizing. But it really has to be a vigilant effort to make sure that the doors are not propped open. And so the doors that we have shown here, we are looking at different alarm systems or security systems to ensure that, that we will have notice if it's open, make sure that we have a secure building.
Okay, and then one more comment here. Go back to the picture with the stairs. I just wanted to compliment the design team on that aspect of the design. I know in the Jordan School District, they have a similar stair set, and it functions beautifully both as a educational area, but also just gives a place for students just to hang out. It also acts as an area where maybe parents can gather or groups before they head out, or some slight instructions before the classroom heads out, so it's a nice area.
Just to add to that, two of our students who went on some of the high school tours with us, they said that was one of their favorite elements of all of the tours. So I've still got a picture of the two of them sitting on one in another school. So we're really excited to see the versatility of that space.
All right, go ahead, Mary.
Whenever, as a high school, we host events, debate, Knowledge Bowl or anything like that, this is where a lot of the students gather. And one of the other complaints we get from a lot of those long-term things, especially, you know, the little kid robotics teams that meet in that area too, is the lack of power. Is that addressed anywhere in here?
So a couple different things. With the expansion of space, we'll be able to have space for some of these programs to have, you know, a dedicated space or a space where they can use within the classroom. But certainly in our subgroup meetings, we are talking about, that's where we're getting the users there, like our IT folks, our building administrators saying, you know, how are we going to use this? What are we using this for? So power is a key one. A place for kids to plug in their devices is another one. Sometimes just open spaces to collaborate too, so, yep.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is an enrollment update presented tonight by Executive Director of Business Services, Ms. Sink.
Good evening. It's an exciting time of the year. We have a lot of students coming into Prior Lake Savage Schools, and I just want to talk a little bit about that student population tonight. Our 17-18 enrollment budget, if you recall, back in June when we approved the budget, we approved it for 8,746 students. Our September 5th enrollment was 8,827. That's 81 students over our projection. I did take a peek today and see what was happening with our enrollment because, you know, the first couple weeks of school, we have a tendency to lose some kids. We have lost 2, and we've done a little bit of shuffling. We have a lot more students in our ALC program. We've lost some high school kids in middle and elementary. So we've done a little shuffling. I expect that will continue to happen as this month continues. I'll talk a little bit about our elementary enrollment. We have 3,836 was our budgeted number. We have 28 students over that budget right now. Actually, that now is reduced to 24. So, you know, we're about 76 kids above our budgeted number, over last year's enrollment, I should say. So 24 students above our budget and 76 over last year's numbers. And we kind of expected that. I was a little surprised. I think our kindergarten enrollment is where I'm seeing the biggest growth. We anticipated about 615 students at the kindergarten level, and we're at 638. So, in my opinion, that's kind of where that's my aha this year. For middle school enrollment, 2,097. We anticipated the largest growth at our middle school. We're a few students short of that. In fact, today when I looked, we're about 10 students short of that number of our budgeted number. But I think, you know, we're still, you know, 122 kids over last year's numbers. So we definitely are seeing the biggest growth at our middle schools. And I anticipate that. Our sixth grade being at 735, I totally expect them to be over 800 students when they get to ninth grade. So we will definitely see if the trends continue as they have in the past. That would be the first class of 800 moving into Prior Lake High School. Our high school enrollment, 2,773. You can see we have 2 classes of over 700 students, and our smaller classes in 11th and 12th grade. We are over 60 kids over our budgeted number. It's just amazing how many students we have. You know, I've said this years and years and years now. We are not a first-time homebuyer community, and I really do see them coming in that 6th grade and 9th grade level, our high school. This is the first year we really saw some increases in our upper grades as well, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So my numbers, when we do our enrollment for the high school, includes the ALC. So right now, our ALC is, it shows here 93. If that would have remained true, it would have been the highest we've started our ALC enrollment, but we're actually over 100 students right now at our ALC today. And that's typical. You know, students at the ALC are usually starting school, they're saying, oh, school started, I better come to the ALC and get my classes. And so it's pretty typical that we're seeing some enrollment growth this first week of school at our ALC. And so I think we're really much closer to that 108 that we have. So we've increased that. Our high school's dropped a little bit. So that's showing our historical growth. If we were to take that September 5th, second day of school, really, number into consideration, you can see our district is growing significantly over the past several years. Any questions?
Questions or comments? Mary? Okay.
I have a couple of questions here. So, so we received an email, I think, before school started, with a total of 8,852 on August 31st. And that has changed and dropped and moved significantly based upon who showed up, right? So.
Right, and I.
Pretty big change this year.
It is a big change. One of the things that's also changed is our MinCaps program, where we are actually enrolling those students because we have our own entity now. We enroll those students, and so we were counting those students where we shouldn't have been, so you're seeing a big drop there at our high school because we excluded them now from our enrollment numbers. So we saw about a 30-student drop at our high school. We were counting them and we shouldn't have been. So from that email to this one, there's a big drop, and that's the reason. So it's just some tweaks that we're trying to, you know, as we change things, we just have to make sure that we're looking at everything over and make sure we're counting kids correctly. But I think our district is looking really good. Our numbers are good, so we'll be bringing back, you know, October 1 is our date that we start receiving funds from the state based on our October 1 numbers. And so we'll be looking at that, taking a close look at that, and reporting again in October on our numbers. And then we will revise the current year budget based on those new numbers for December.
And then another question that I had was, how much, did we fill all 75 kids in open enroll?
No.
We didn't.
No.
What is our open enrollment outstanding right now?
I don't know. I would have to go back and look at that.
Okay.
I know that we haven't filled all positions in our district. I do know that. I did look at some of our open enrollment in the last couple of weeks, and we were still trying to fill kindergarten spots. We were still trying to fill a few others. So as kids move in and out, those numbers fluctuate as well. So we are still we have some that are full, some spots, but there are definitely some grade levels that we haven't filled at all.
By the October, will we be able to see a breakdown by school, by actual school and grade like we used to? You know, how many are in Red Tail, how many are in Westwood,
Sure,
stuff
we
like
can
that?
give you that.
Okay, great.
Are there any other questions or comments? I think historically, we've seen that breakdown on the Excel spreadsheet that has each of the sections and
Tim's
each of them.
back here saying we can show you right now, actually.
We'll wait for the October 1st, and then on the open enrollment, you'll have that number for us for the October 1
If that's a
report.
request of the board, I can give you some open enrolled. It's easy for me to give you how many are coming in. It's much more difficult to do the how many are going out. We don't always know by that October 1.
No, I think following up on Mary's question about the total number of
Oh,
spaces
sure.
filled, is that a okay direction
that's
from
fine
the
with me,
board?
sure.
Okay. And then just from my quick math, that's over 330-some students compared to last year, total.
I think you're a little high, about 280,
Where did I
somewhere in
miss?
there.
I went to Richfield, so I don't know, so. All right, so, but just for the public at home, that is continuing our pace of growth.
It is definitely on target. We were a little short of 250 this last year. We're over 250, well over this year. I expect that our average of 250, we're probably pretty close to the last couple of years. It's right on, so.
All right, any other questions or comments?
One other
Go ahead,
question.
Mary.
Did we take a drop in ninth grade? Because I had 761 last year this time and 731 this year. That's usually a huge transition year, and I wasn't sure if that's, if
We had a small 8th grade coming into 9th grade. That was our middle school issue. I think we were talking about that last spring, saying we had the largest 5th grade moving into middle school and the smallest 8th grade moving into the high school. So that's why our middle school is going to see a big increase, and that's why we didn't anticipate as big of an increase at our high school.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a proclamation for the Constitution Week, and I'll read that. Whereas September 17th, 2018 marks the 231st anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document and the anniversary of its creation, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and now therefore, we, the school board of the Prior Lake Savage Area Schools, do hereby proclaim September 17th through 21st, 2018 to be Constitution Week within the Prior Lake Savage Area School District with the observance of September 17th, 2018. This is a proclamation. Do I have to have a motion? So do I have a motion for the acceptance of this proclamation?
No, do we not need to?
Do
have-
I need-
Sorry,
Okay.
don't need it.
But it is a roll call or just a,
It's just a reading.
just a reading? All right, thank you. Okay, next is a resolution concerning Columbus Day. This is an annual, and it allows us to conduct business on on October 1st. We annually pass the following orders so we can conduct business on that day. You have the resolution in front of you. Columbus Day, October 8th, 2018. So do I have a motion for the acceptance of the resolution?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
By Mary. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 That passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is the policy. This is the second and final reading of these policies. And for that, I will hand it over to Dr. Superintendent Dr. Stallo and Assistant Superintendent Mr. Holmberg.
Excellent. I'll go ahead and start with 302, the policy on the superintendent. We looked at the Minnesota School Board Association model policies, and we did not have the bolded B where it states that the superintendent or assistant superintendent will evaluate principals. So we thought it was important that we noted that in our policy, that that's something that we do on an annual basis. So we're suggesting that we add that. Do you want to take each policy one at a time, or what would you like to
Correction,
do?
why don't,
I think,
you want to do it all at once?
Sure.
of the whole thing?
All 4 policies in one motion?
Sure. We've looked at them at study session and at,
Okay.
Right. Okay, so do I have a motion for the acceptance of policy 302, 304, 610, and 616 for second reading and approval?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second? By Todd? All right, we've discussed policy 302. Next is policy 304.
Excellent. Just a note on that, what we did is, again, we aligned the language to the model policy. We also, it appeared to be procedural statements in the general statement of the policy, so we're recommending that we remove those, and then at the request of the board, on the online, in the online documents, we'll make sure that we have the job description linked to this, as well as the timeline on the superintendent evaluation.
Next is policy 610. Mr. Holmberg?
Yeah, good evening again. We've had one first read, and then we've had 2 work sessions on this document. And so the main thing here, since it's under B, we've added additional regulations or components to this policy regarding major magnitude field trips. You see those noted there. We also, under D, have listed cost of supervision. And then also toward the end, under pre-departure checklist, a 9B, add may, as far as those components. So with that, those were the additions and revisions to this policy.
Okay, and the next is policy 616.
616, we adjusted those to reflect federal law, world's best workforce, and then titles of individuals that are responsible for overseeing the implementation of the grad requirements.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments concerning any of the policies listed in the motion?
I'll just make one comment.
Go ahead, Stacy.
I do appreciate, because I was one of the holdouts on 610, the changes made. I feel comfortable, very comfortable going forward that we'll have some successful international trips.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I would just
Go ahead,
second
Mary.
what Stacy said about the part in B that was added. I think that satisfied my concerns also.
All right, are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0. Next, administrative reports. Dr. Stallo, superintendent report.
Thank you very much. At Prior Lake Savage Area Schools, our mission is to educate all learners to reach their full potential. As contributing and productive members of our ever-changing global community, our collective work is focused on achieving our mission, and tonight I'd like to highlight some of the work in which we have been engaged. Back to school is certainly the big news for us in the last week. Students in grades 6 through 12 started last Tuesday, with students in kindergarten and fifth grade starting last Thursday. I had a great time visiting each site on the first days of their schools and really seeing a lot of relationship building happening, seeing a lot of smiles. To see kids jump off the bus and literally run into elementary school is an absolute joy. I'm not sure I saw that as much at the secondary sites, but there certainly was a lot of excitement there. Just want to thank our staff for really opening up the year in such a positive way. Staff from our transportation staff and partners to our child nutritious services, custodian and maintenance staff did a fantastic job. Kids Company, certainly the before and after care, as well as all of our teaching and support staff. When Julie presented and shared her numbers, it is again a reminder that we are growing. And with that growth, especially this year when we still, have some space constraints before all this building gets done, it takes a little bit of extra care on everyone's part to ensure that we are ready to greet all of those students as they come. So I want to thank the staff for all of that work. School board members Rich Wolf, Lee Schimmick, and Stacy Royal joined all staff for the district kickoff breakfast and back to school event on August 30th. We enjoyed the opportunity to bring to life the theme of our new academic year. We are PLSAS, Ideas Matter. The goal of this theme is to continue to encourage shared leadership by empowering staff to feel open to sharing their ideas and certainly listening to the ideas of our students and families. The district has formed an innovation team that's planning an exciting way to collect ideas from staff, which we will launch and kick off later this fall, called Idea Doc. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that. Although I don't sit on the Reimagine Minnesota Superintendent State Leadership Team, I did have a chance to attend their latest meeting as a member of the AMSD Legislative and Executive Committee. Two lawyers presented their perspectives regarding school districts, what school districts could consider regarding some of the Cruz-Guzman case. No decisions were made. However, the superintendents did discuss the importance of maintaining a commitment and a focus on the 9 strategies of the Reimagine Minnesota plan that has been collaboratively developed and including the World Cafe that we held here with many of our residents and families over the last 2 years. I look forward to our continued work to integrate those 9 strategies and align that work to our educational equity and excellence plan, as well as our department and school improvement plans also. And lastly, just a reminder, you most likely have already heard that the Lakers will host the Lakeville North Panthers at the Vikings TCO Performance Center on October 12th. Russ Reitz and a few other folks had a chance to meet with the Vikings staff last week to discuss some of the logistics, and we'll be hearing more about that. But it should be a very exciting event and a great opportunity for our students.
Thank you. Administrative reports.
I just have one quick update that the audit is complete, and we are, we'll be bringing something, our auditors will come to the study session to kind of go over the full audit, as well as being at the next board meeting in October to go over the slides as they have done in the past. And also our levy certification, we just received that today, and we'll be reviewing that and bringing that forward at the end of the month here for preliminary approval.
Board reports? None. Todd?
Yeah, I have one. Dr. Stahl and I attended the AMSD meeting where there was probably the highlight of the day was the Bill Morris from the Morris Leatherman Company provided their latest survey. And it was a kind of a metro survey on what was happening. In addition, there were some political highlights. I haven't seen this slideshow yet come through. Has that come through yet to get out to everyone?
You know what, I'll check on the AMSD website if it's posted there or not.
Okay.
But if it
But
is,
we'll get
I'll be
that
sure
out
to
to
send
you.
that link out to you all.
It was rather interesting.
If I
Kind of
could add.
trends in education.
Follow up on Todd's point.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the statistics that was interesting is the most important issue that, this was the first time that for one of the most important issues that Minnesotans felt was going to be part of the legislature this year, education did rank first and healthcare second. And usually that's reversed, so that was something that Dr. Morrison shared with us.
And Senator Pratt has also held a couple of meetings independent of the legislature in regards to cross-subsidy, so. Yeah, it's kind of informational, trying to figure out what's happening with that. We don't expect any extra funds, but trying to figure out from the legislature on which direction they want to go.
Mary?
The only update that I have is that the Southwest Metro Intermediate District, that includes Prior Lake, is having their annual fundraiser on October 5th at the Hazelton, I believe, golf course. I always forget which golf course it is. And the theme is to dress like a golfer, and they will be giving away prizes for the best dressed golfer or the most creative design. But it is a fundraiser that is incredibly important to all of our kids and all the districts involved.
Student report.
First off, I'd like to thank Dr. Bezick and all the staff at the high school for a great transition to the start of the school year, which went very well. Students of all grades settled into their classes and their new schedules, and the year's off and everybody's settling in and getting ready for their classes to begin getting hard. I know many students enjoyed the football game on Friday as it was at home, and we beat the Crimsons, so that was exciting. For student council, our first community service event will be providing volunteers and assisting at the Fall Community Fest on September 17th at the high school. Tomorrow, our student council will begin royalty court voting, which is a great way to tell students that homecoming is approaching very fast. Our homecoming dance will be on September 29th, which is, our theme is outer space, which we have a clever name of Houston, We Have a Homecoming. And then along with homecoming, we have coronation on September 24th, and we have middle and elementary level royalty tours and powder puff and powder poof on September 26th, and the big football game on September 28th. So.
Thank you. Future events, Fall Community Fest, September 17th, Prior Lake High School. It's always a great event to see the community in action. Board study session, September 24th, right here. Homecoming coronation, September 24th at 7 p.m. at the high school. Pep Fest and the football game, September 24th at the high school against Burnsville. 28th. We'll bring home that Dan Patch award, right? All right. And then And then Board Scholar Night, October 1st, 7 PM at the high school. Todd, you had a,
The homecoming football game is the 28th. There's a typo there. It's Friday night.
oh, okay. Thank you very much. All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, any other items on the agenda that we wish to discuss? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second by Stacy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 4-0.